Hey you guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, MrBee Handyman Specialist. I'm gonna show you guys how to replace the valve cover gasket and the spark plug tube seal. There you go. This is what I'm gonna use. NGK Iridium spark plugs. And when I bought these from the auto parts store, they say not to cap them because it's already pre-capped it at the factory for your car. That is wrong. Now tighten the spark plugs in there and torque it down to a 14 foot-pound. The next thing is I'm gonna go ahead and do the valve cover gaskets for the front and the rear, and also spark plug tube seals for the front and for the back. So alright, let's get to it. Now you need to remove this piece right here. What you do is you pull this tab back and pull up on it. See how easy that is? Same thing's on this side right here. You push this one up and pull up on it. Now you need to disconnect the fuel injector connector. Just this right here. 1, 2, 3. You can use your hand to push this tab down and lift it up, or you can use a pair of pliers. It'll be easier to use a pair of pliers because this one right here is a little tight. Don't squeeze too hard though, because you're gonna break it. Pretty fragile, so. See? Now you need to remove this torque bolt right here. I use E6 torque socket to remove these two bolts right here. That one's removed. Need to remove this bracket right here. That's a 12 millimeter. The bolt's right there. Need to remove this bracket as well. This bracket right here. That's a 10 millimeter bolt. Go ahead and move that out of the way. Alright, there's 9 bolts total. There are 10 millimeter bolts that's holding this valve cover on. There's one right there. You can see my finger right there. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 right there. So there's 9 total. You need to remove those before you remove the valve cover. That's 1 right there. That's 2. Now the tricky part, the last bolt. You see how this little metal piece right here is blocking? You can actually put the 3/8 ratchet in there and just slide it in, so you can break that bolt like that. See it? There you go. There you go. You need to remove this fuel injector connector right here. Do the same thing like in the front. Use a pair of pliers, squeeze and pull. I need to remove this clip right here. What I do to remove this right here, this clip, I use a flathead screwdriver. And gently pry it up. See? Now you need to remove this bracket right here. There's a 10mm bolt. There's one right there, one right there, and one right there. Alright, there's 9 10mm bolts holding this cover on, just like the front valve cover. There's one right there. There's one right here. There's two. There's one right there. There's two. 3, 4 right there. 5, 6 is right there, right by that bracket right there. 6, 7, 8 right there, and then 9 is right here. It's hard to get a camera down there, but you see where my finger's at right there. That's right there. So 9 total. Okay, if you notice, there's a bolt right there, right in front of this bracket. There's a couple ways to do it. You can either try to remove this bracket. There's a 12mm bolt holding this bracket down, all the way down to the block. Or use a 1/4" drive, 10mm socket, and get right between there, and use a swivel extension like this right here, and then you can get that bolt out that's holding on the valve cover. one more bolt to go. Right here. Alright, that's it right there. It's the last one. Alright, just to make it a little bit easier, see these 3 studs? You can remove them, and it'll help you to make it easier to remove this valve cover. This one is an E6. It's the same torque socket size as the front one. So you can go ahead and remove these 3. It'll be easier to remove the valve cover. Is out. Alright, now you need to remove this old tube seal right here. What I'm using is this seal removal tool. You can get this off from anywhere, from Harbor Freight or any automotive store. And what you do, put it inside here. Then try to get a good grip if you can. Looks like this one is a little tough because it's been on there forever. So you have to work your way through it. If the tool doesn't work, you can use a flathead screwdriver and try to work this way out. You can use a flathead screwdriver and try to remove the seal. Looks like this one never been replaced. It's on there forever. This is a little tough here. What I do is get a small flathead screwdriver and go right between there, between the seals, and just tap on it. Try to break that gap between it. Since this car was never been replaced the tube seal before, because it looks like it's the original part and it's been on there forever, most of its life, which is about 17 years. So it's a little stubborn to come out. So you just go around it and tap on it, try to break all that seal, and just work your way out. And then just try to work a little bit at a time until it comes off. Looks like the seal got stuck on there pretty good. Okay, now let's try it, see if it's gonna come off. Once you break all that seal, all that gap between there, between the seal, the tube seal and the part, There we go. Finally came off. Man, this sucker is so old. It's on there forever. So that's good to replace them. So in the future, you don't have to worry about it anymore, because if this one goes bad, if the spark plug tube seal go bad, you're gonna have oil inside your spark plugs, and that's gonna cause your spark plugs to foul, and then you're starting to have a misfiring. So on these, I'm gonna do the same thing. Try to break the seal first. Oh, by the way, make sure you have some wood blocks down here so you wouldn't damage the valve cover. Another stubborn one. Now you want to clean the inside real good. Try to clean the best that you can. Try to get that old gasket off, the one that baked it on there. Clean out real good. Take your time on it. Just make it spotless, so it'll be easier to put the new seals in. And you can clean whatever that you think that you can use alcohol or carb cleaner. Squirt some in there and then clean it up real good. Alright, what I do is just try to scrape all this gasket off, the residue gasket that was stuck on there or baked on there. Kind of scrape it off without scratching the surface. And then what I use is a paper towel and an alcohol. Just try to clean it up real good. Right there. You didn't have to be perfect, but make sure the surface is clean. And do the same thing on these two. Alright, they're all clean. Looks pretty good right there. Now there's the second one. Do the same thing like on the other one. If you can remove this one out with the seal removal tool, then just use the same method with the flathead screwdriver, small flathead screwdriver. Just tap it in there, break the seals all the way around, and pry it out. Let's see if this one's gonna be able to pry it out using a seal removal tool. Nope, it's pretty hard, so I gotta use that method with a flathead screwdriver. Just tap all the way around. Alright, before you install the new seal, if you see this little tab right here, you see that there's one on each side. What you have to do is just bend one tab up with a pair of needle nose pliers. See right there? Just bend one tab up. Same on this side. Just bend one up. Just like so. Alright, now this is the new seal. Make sure this side right here goes down like that into the valve cover. And this side right here up. And before we put it in, just put a little bit of oil all the way around so it'll be easier to push it back in. Just lightly oil right here. It'll help easing it in. Once this one is in, try to push it in with your hand first. Try to get the best you can. And what I do first is I use a little punch. Kind of tap this part down. Try to make it flush. Go all the way around. It's gonna be a little tight. That's why I rub a little bit of oil on the outside, so it'll be easier to tap it down. Alright, that looks pretty flush right there. And the final step, I use a 30mm socket. Put it right here and tap it down. Try to even everything out. Alright. Looks good right there. Now, do the same thing on this side and this side right here. A light oil on it. Alright, this one looks good. Alright, that looks pretty good right there. Now, what you want to do is, the tab that you just bent up, go ahead, knock it back down. Knock it back down with a punch. Alright, all good now. So this side's done. So on the other valve cover, you do the same thing just like on this side. Alright, if you notice, there's a half circle right there. I mean, it's good if you want to break this apart and clean it up real good, because this half circle right here is removable. So you can remove it, clean up the gasket, and put silicone on it. The silicone for the valve cover. So you can use, you know, Permatex or whatever that you have available, and then you can just apply on there and put it on there. But for me, I'm just gonna leave it the way it is because it's good, it doesn't leak. So I'm just gonna skip this part, but it's an optional if you want to do it. It's up to you, but I decided not to, just to make the job a lot quicker, because this part right here is not leaking, so it's good. So now you need to scrape all the old gaskets off or any residue left over. Just go ahead and wipe it off real good and clean it up real good. And also do the same thing on the back side. Just scrape all the gasket out real good and clean it up real good. Now there's 6 locations that you need to apply a high temp RTV silicone on it. There's the first location is this right here. This little seam right here. Just put a little bit of RTV silicone on there. A thin bead of RTV silicone. This is location 2. That's 3 right there. That's 4. And there's 5 right there. Location 6 right there. Right there. Where's my finger is at? It's right here. This is what I'm gonna use. Permatex Ultra Copper High Temp RTV silicone. This one is sensor safe. So this one I'm gonna apply this on those 6 locations. Put a little bead on there. Right there, you can see it. See right there. And right there. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 location for the front valve cover. Alright, let's put the new gasket on. Alright, that one's good. Now it's time to install the valve cover. Make sure the gasket doesn't come off. So when you put it in, just hold that gasket with your finger like that. And kind of run your finger down. Make sure this gasket is still intact. Okay, it looks good right there. Now, press it down. Make sure it's in. Alright, looks good. Now put the bolt back on. Kind of hand tight them at first. Alright, now just tighten it down by hand first. What I do, I start from this side first. That's number 1. Number 2, just snug it for now. Number 3 right here. Number 4. 5. Number 6. Number 7. Number 8. And number 9 right here. Just snug it for now. And then we're gonna torque it down. Now it's time to torque the valve cover bolts, and it calls for 69 pounds for the valve cover bolts. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna torque it down to about 35 pounds first in the torque sequence, and then after that 69 pounds. Now on this side right here, underneath this bracket, it's hard to do the torque on that, so I'm just gonna do it by hand. Okay, just only 1 bolt. The last torque is 69 inch-pound. And on the back valve cover, you do the same thing just like the front valve cover. Put a little bead of RTV silicone right there in the back. Put one right there, one right there. If you notice, there's also another half circle. The one that I didn't take it out, that's why I left it on there. And just like the front valve cover, a little bead right there. And right over there, where the seams are. Just like the front valve cover. You can see right there, see? That half circle right there? It looks the same as the front valve cover. So, that's where you put the RTV silicone on there. Alright, you can see right there. This one right there, there's one in the back, just like the front valve cover. That seam right there, that half circle right there, that seam, and there's another seam right there. Alright, let's put the gasket on the valve cover. Now the back one, just to let you know that the back valve cover, it's gonna be a little bit tough, so just take your time, don't rush, and make sure the gasket stays intact, because if not, you have to take everything apart again and fix the gasket. So do the job once and that's it. You don't have to do it again, but that's why you need to take your time on it. Do it right the first time. Alright, got plenty of slack right there. Make sure double check, run your finger through it. You can feel a little gasket inside there. If you don't feel a gasket, that means it came off. You don't want that because you're gonna have an oil leak. Okay, now the valve cover is on. So next one is you gotta need to put all the bolts back on. Do the same thing just like the front valve cover. Alright, all the bolts are back on onto the valve cover. So the torque sequence is the same as the front valve cover, so that's fairly easy. Just keep it at the same torque sequence as the front valve cover and you're good. And make sure it's 69 inch-pound. Alright, this is the last torque sequence. I did the 35 inch-pound first, and then this the last one, 69 inch-pound. Alright, now you need to put everything back on. Make sure don't forget anything, any connector that you took off. Go ahead, plug it in, put the coil back on. Before you put the coil back on, put a little dielectric grease in there. For me, mine came in a can, so I already put it in, so I'm good. For the torque, I usually just snug tight on these because I mean it's not necessary to torque it down. I mean you can. It's 7 inch-pound, but I'm just not gonna worry about that. Just gonna hand torque it down. But don't over tighten it because you're gonna break it. Because these coils won't go nowhere. It's not a moving part. Now you gotta put the stud back on. The stud that's holding up this electrical wire right here. And the stud, snug tight. Don't tighten it down too much because it's gonna go all the way through your valve cover. Put the nut on. Snug tight on the nut. Plug in the connector to the coils. Make sure it's in all the way. Needs to connect the connectors to the fuel injectors. The clip in there. Everything looks good. Now remove the old gasket. Clean it up a little bit. Install a new gasket. Now you need to make sure that that surface is clean. Clean it up real good with alcohol. Make sure there's no dust on there or any residue on there. And then after that, remove the paper towel and reinstall the intake manifold. Now reinstall the intake manifold. Make sure the gasket's still intact. Now you need to install the bracket or the plate. Reinstall the bolt. And the two nuts that was holding on each end. Not too tight, just a little snug, and then we'll torque it down later. You can see right here, go ahead and put this bolt on there first to this bracket, to the throttle body. Don't tighten it yet, just hand tighten them, keep it loose. And then after that, start tightening those bolts and torque it down to 13 foot-pound. Okay, what I usually do, I just do a crisscross pattern on the torque sequence. What I do, I'll tighten this one down first, just a little bit. The torque spec for these is 13 foot-pound. So I usually just torque this one down first and then do kind of crisscross pattern. Come to this side, go to the back, come to the front, and then go to the back. Somewhere along that line. As long you stay within crisscross pattern, but you want to start in the middle one first and then move your way out. $13 foot-pound. And just for reference, I would just leave that bolt right there and right there off, because as long as you got one mount right there, that bolt, that mount that you bolt to the throttle body, that should be good right there, because you're gonna have a hard time to realign the bolt into the hole both sides. So you're gonna spend too much time on that. You can just leave it off. But if you can realign it, was be able to install those two bolts, that's great. But as for me, I'm just leave those two off, because it'll be a lot easier next time to replace the spark plug. Now go ahead and tighten that bolt right there. And you don't have to torque it, just hand tighten it. Now go ahead and connect all the hoses. Now connect the bracket. It's right here. Tie it down. Just snug tight. Don't have to torque it down. Connect the injector. Just mount this right here. Install the coil. Don't forget to put a little dielectric grease in there. Plug it in. Also, don't forget to plug in this vacuum line right here. There you go. Connect this right here. Put this hose back in here. Don't forget the two mount for this wire. Just hand tight these. You don't have to torque it. Just snug it. Put the bracket on. Connect the sensor right here. Or the ground. I believe it's the ground. Okay. Also, don't forget to install this PVC tube right here back on there. Alright, time to install the airbox. And make sure this piece is connected here first, so it'll be easier to put it on. Just like that. That hole's underneath there. Connect the hose. Connect the air fuel meter flow. Go ahead, connect that. Mount these right here. Put the bolts back on. Just hand tight them, you don't have to torque it. Snug tight it. Tighten the clamp. Just snug tight it, don't over tighten it because you're gonna crack it. Plastic, so be careful. Go ahead and tighten this clamp right here. Don't over tighten it. Just hand tighten it, snug tight. Alright, now reinstall this box right here. Now just hand tighten them, snug tight. No need to torque it down. Install this plastic piece right here. Put in the strut tower bar. Torque it down to 59 foot-pound. Now put the cover back on. Alright, that's pretty much it. So all you have to do is just start up the car and test drive. And that's it. I hope you learned something today, and don't get intimidated by it. I know there's a lot of stuff that you gotta remove before you get to the spark plugs and the valve cover, but just take your time, no rush, just don't rush at it, and just be patient. Do a little bit at a time. If you get confused or whatever, do not rush, because if you rush, you're gonna mess something up. So I hope you learned something, and I do appreciate it for watching my video. Thanks for watching.